Good morning. Given the lockdown for so many months, it's not surprising that India Inc.'s Q1 results are as bad as they are. There has been a 32% fall in revenues over the quarter and a 48% fall in net profits. But several indicators, and that's a good news, but several indicators are suggesting that the worst may be over. The climbing out of the mess, of course, is going to be long and arduous. A good indicator of that is how the Finance Ministry is now talking about a second stimulus package and a lot more reforms. Though, of course, the bad news here is that it's only one bank, IDBI Bank, that is being talked about in terms of privatization and not the others, which essentially means that even now, Prime Minister Modi is not convinced that he's going to be able to pull it off when he goes to Parliament and asks Parliament to scrap the Bank Nationalisation Act. The telecom regulator TRAI continues to put hurdles in the ways of companies like Bharti Airtel and Vodafone Idea when it comes to their faster speed internet plans. After TRAI made its bias very clear when it said that these plans violated net neutrality rules, the TRAI is now asking the right question whether offering higher speeds to one set of subscribers will lower or will not lower speeds for another set. Obviously it will, but the solution here, as we've talked about in the past, is something that the government needs to do. There's about 25 to 35% of spectrum which is just lying unsold in most bands. If the government was to lower the price of spectrum, scrap license fee and spectrum usage charges, and then sell the spectrum to telcos, then the bandwidth would improve dramatically. In fact, as we have said earlier, if the government was to make available the E-band to mobile phone players, the speed of the internet would also increase dramatically, because right now, what really constrains the internet speed is the ability of telcos to move the data between their telecom towers. Right now, the best way to do this is actually to have optical fiber cable, but only about 20 to 25% of all towers are connected by optic fiber cable, because digging takes a long time and it isn't easy to get permission. If, on the other hand, the E-band is made available to them, then they can actually start moving data across towers without doing optic fiber. But sadly, while the E-band was talked about 2 to 3 years ago, there has been zero movement on this. What we have been suspecting or actually fearing for a long time seems to be coming true. The spread of the coronavirus is moving away from urban India to rural and semi-urban India. In fact, our estimate is that by the end of August, around 50% of corona infections will come from non-urban areas. So this is a real problem, because these are the areas which don't have enough hospitalization facilities. So we have to wait and see as to whether in the time that the governments have available, they will be able to put together the necessary health facilities. And while India reaches 1 million recoveries of corona, we have a story which actually brings out the fact that most of these recoveries are phony. Why else would it take 17 days for a patient to recover in Maharashtra, 11 in Madhya Pradesh, and just 6 in Bihar? In fact, a month ago, it took 9 days to recover in Bihar. So clearly some of these numbers on the recovery are just being made up. In the case of Delhi, for example, the Delhi government does not even ask for testing. So somebody has coronavirus, that person takes a course in medicine, and after about a week, 10 days, the government simply says, or the doctors simply say, that you have recovered. There is no test to actually see whether that's true or not. And while some studies are talking about the fact that in big cities like Delhi, the R0 has become less than 1, and that is a big sign of the fact that the virus seems to be waning. But I think it's very important here to be careful that all these numbers come from the fact that Delhi's testing is being mostly done by what is called a rapid antigen test. The RAT does not capture most infections. So any study that says that the R0 is coming down is essentially based on the data that is being put out by the RAT, and as we said, that is actually incorrect data. And as India celebrates the Rafale, we have a story which talks about the fact that capital expenditure, the share of total defense expenditure that is spent on capital acquisitions like the Rafale, that has been declining every year consistently. It used to be about 32% about a decade ago. It's about 24% now. And as we've talked about in the past, frankly, if India's GDP doesn't grow, there is no way that India's defense expenditure is going to be able to match that of China, and if that doesn't happen, then India's ability to buy more equipment like the Rafales to be able to ward off Chinese threats and even Pakistani threats is going to be limited. Good news is the Sensex has recovered from the March lows, but as our color patch, as our graphic today says, the market continues to have bad breath. That's BREADTH. Essentially, it looks at the number of firms that have a market cap of over 1,000 crores, and what it finds is that number that just about 650 firms today have a market cap of over 1,000 crore, and that used to be about 853 in December 2017. So essentially, the rally is limited to just a few stocks. Our lead column today congratulates the Finance Ministry and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman for withdrawing the FRDI bill. The FRDI bill, as you know, had a controversial bail-in clause and it had made investors very jittery. So the Finance Ministry has done well to say that it has no plans to bring in the bill again. But this is critical. We actually find that the bill put depositors in banks in a stronger position than they are today. So why do we then say that the government has done well to withdraw the bill? The government has done well to withdraw the bill, not because the bill was bad, but because the government was unable to make a case for it. In fact, as we argue, there are enough clauses in the bill itself which prevent it from being misused, which means that if there's a depositor who does not give his or her consent for her funds to be bailed in, this cannot be done. The bill is very clear on that. In fact, as we argue, if the government was to ensure all deposits in banks, there would never have been a controversy over the FRDI bill in any case. So essentially, the opposition to the FRDI bill is really that of a colossal failure on the part of the Finance Ministry politicians and its bureaucrats to convince people about what the bill was really all about. And hopefully, if the government ever decides to bring the bill back, they will be able to understand this and figure out and basically put a plan in place to convince people about what the bill is really all about. Have a great day. Happy Raksha Bandhan.